Kava is known for its anti-anxiety and its calming effects, improving cognition and memory, and reducing irritability and depression. Kava, or Piper metisticum, is a small shrub native to South Pacific Islands, including Fiji, Hawaii, and others. It's been safely used by the islanders for 3,000 years. In Polynesia and Micronesia, Kava has traditionally been used as a ceremonial drink. Kava is best known for elevating contentment, mood, well-being, and a sense of relaxation. It's native to the South Pacific Islands. Several clinical studies have found Kava to be effective in treating the symptoms of anxiety. Other studies have shown that it helps to improve sleep quality. As a nootropic, it's primarily used to lower anxiety, with a potency rivaling some anti-anxiety prescription drugs. Kava affects brain levels of GABA receptors. GABA is the calming neurotransmitter, and an increase in the receptor sites of GABA accounts for Kava's anti-anxiety properties. Kava provides protective effects against strokes. Two of Kava's compounds, dihydromethysticin and methysticin, are similar in potency to memantine, which is used to treat Alzheimer's disease. Kava improves reaction time and cognitive function. Kavalactones in Kava interact with ion channels in the brain, influencing neurotransmitter function. Kava root contains a collection of 6 bioactive compounds called kavalactones, including kawin, dihydrokavin, methysticin, dihydromethysticin, yangonin, and desmethoxyyangonin. Kava also contains small amounts of other alkaloids, flavonoids, and glutathione. The presence of the glutathione seems to reduce the toxicity of some of the other kavalactones. Standardized extracts are important in deciding on what Kava supplement to buy to ensure reliability and safety. The main compounds in Kava readily cross the blood-brain barrier, and it reaches your brain in about 45 minutes after taking it. Kava relaxes the muscles and the mind, but it doesn't affect cognition in the way that antidepressants and anti-anxiety drugs do. After a review of 10 clinical studies on Kava, scientists at Australia's Brain Science Institute at Melbourne found Kava did not negatively affect the cognition. In fact, some studies on the Kava showed it significantly improved visual attention and working memory processes. The research team stated Kava enhanced cognition, and this may be attributed to the ability of Kava to inhibit the reuptake of noradrenaline in the prefrontal cortex. Several studies have shown Kava relieves anxiety. California's Global Neuroscience Initiative Foundation took a look at 24 studies of Kava and other herbal medicines for anxiety, and there was substantial evidence that Kava relieved not only anxiety, but also restlessness and insomnia. They even looked at animal studies that showed Kava has anxiolytic effects, but not sedative or mental impairing effects, which are typical side effects caused by benzodiazepines. Chronic stress, anxiety, loss of neuroreceptors and neurotransmitters can damage your brain, and one of the ways this manifests is memory loss. It comes as no surprise people with memory loss experience higher rates of anxiety and depression, as verified in one Australian research study. Chronic stress reduces memory capacity. Bioavailability of neurotransmitters decline. The number of neuroreceptors decline. There's an increase in anxiety that can destroy the quality of life. Under conditions of chronic stress, your brain loses the capacity to transmit signals between neurons efficiently. Memory, cognition, and decision-making all suffer as a result. Kava has a long and proven record for medicinal therapeutic value. Much of the clinical evidence supports the use of Kava treatment for anxiety. Unlike the benzodiazepines, Kava doesn't have similar sedative and mental impairing effects, and Kava seems to provide this calming effect by increasing the number of GABA A receptors in the brain. Kava extracts have been shown to bind to GABA, dopamine, serotonin, and dopamine receptors. This implies that more of each neuroreceptor is available for the brain, since their associated receptors are blocked or inhibited by Kava. Kava extracts have also shown antidepressant effects. Some of these trials demonstrating this effect on depression also noted that Kava raised no safety concerns at the doses and the duration studied, unlike some well-known pharmaceutical antidepressants. Kava has also been shown to boost cognition and attention. In one study, researchers stated that Kava's enhanced cognition may be attributed to its ability to inhibit the reuptake of noradrenaline in the prefrontal cortex. Kava also prevents and may even treat several types of cancer. Research shows, for example, one of the components of Kava, fluvacawin B, reduces prostate tumor growth and inhibits cancer. And that's just one of the many examples of how the different components of Kava can fight cancer in the lung, bladder, and other organs. Any particular preparation of Kava will contain up to 18 different Kava lactones. Each will have some type of psychoactive effect on the brain. And to complicate things even more, there's several distinct strains of Kava grown in Hawaii and South Pacific, and with their own unique profiles of Kava lactones, and these result in their own subtle differences in their effects. In general, supplementing with kavin can make you feel relaxed, enhance calmness, and lower anxiety while promoting sociability. Higher doses can generate feelings of gentle euphoria, with greater sedation and mild motor impairment. Many say that at lower doses, Kava's effects are a little like those generated by alcohol and certain kinds of anti-anxiety medication. Some users say it works as well as popping a Xanax. You should experience an increase in focus along with a sense of calm, and even though the Kava works well as a sleep aid, taking it during the day shouldn't make you drowsy. A study at the University of Melbourne revealed Kava could be an alternative treatment for people suffering from generalized anxiety disorder. In this 6-week placebo-controlled double-blind trial, 75 patients with clinically diagnosed generalized anxiety disorder were given Kava or placebo. Participants were given Kava extract tablet twice per day with a total dose of 120 mg Kava lactones for the first 3 weeks. In the case of non-response, the dose was increased to double that for the second 3 weeks. GABA and noradrenaline receptor polymorphisms were analyzed as potential pharmacogenetic markers of response. Reduction in anxiety was measured using the Hamilton Anxiety Rating Scale as the primary outcome. Kava was well tolerated, and results showed no significant differences in liver function. One interesting observation during the study was that subjects who had genetic differences in GABA transporters modified their response to Kava. At the conclusion of the trial, 26% of the Kava group were considered in remission for their anxiety symptoms, compared to the placebo group. Overall, participants who received the Kava showed a significant reduction in anxiety levels, and one additional finding of the study was that Kava increased the female participants' sex drive. Researchers conducted a double-blind, placebo-controlled trial with healthy volunteers. The purpose of the trial was to investigate the effects of Kava on emotions and cognitive performance. One group was given a single dose of Kava extract, 300 mg, and that single dose led to an increase in cheerfulness, improved accuracy and speed in task performance, increased visual attention, and a boost in short-term memory. The research team compared the effects of Kava to conventional benzodiazepine-type anxiolytics, which tend to impair cognitive performance. The team concluded Kava is a potent anxiolytic agent, and it boosts cognitive function. Kava extracts are made with a variety of different strengths and from different sources of plant materials, so it's difficult to recommend the exact dose. Fortunately, Calva is relatively forgiving as far as the dose is concerned, so taking 2 to 3 times the recommended dose of an extract should cause no issues. Some users claim the extracts are not strong enough, and the only way to get the full effects of Kava is to use ground Kava root, which can be found at some natural food stores. Make sure it smells fresh. It should have a relatively strong smell. Fresh powder is used to make a cold tea by making a cold water extraction. Fresh powder is soaked in the cold water for 15 to 20 minutes or more, stirring or shaking occasionally. You can then strain out the powder if you like. If you want to go with the capsule route, look for a Kava extract called WS1490. For anxiety and for other cognitive issues, use 300 mg of this extract daily, preferably split into 3 100 mg doses, one in the morning, one early afternoon, and one late in the evening. You can also choose a Kava extract supplement with 250 mg total Kava lactones. You can use this multiple times throughout the day. If you use only a single dose, take it prior to sleep. Kava has a long and proven track record for medicinal therapeutic value, but if you start doing research on Kava, you'll see reports of possible liver toxicity. Most of the research shows there's little to no evidence to support this notion of liver damage when using Kava. For example, one large review out of the University of Melbourne included 24 clinical studies. One of the researchers stated, of the 435 clinical trial participants taking Kava supplementation in the review, some at high doses, no liver issues were reported. Therefore, the current review supports the conclusion that liver toxicity is indeed a rare side effect. For most of history of the Kava industry, it's been harvested and prepared by native Pacific Islanders. Roots are stored in bulk after harvest, and they could develop mold or require other contaminants. Increasingly, many Kava suppliers harvest and process their Kava using international manufacturing standards like ISO, GMP, and others. And because of the restrictions by first world countries, especially the European Union, on the import of raw ingredients, these protocols are now stricter. So when selecting a Kava product, make sure the manufacturer is adhering to good manufacturing practices. Long-term, heavy and consistent consumption of Kava could cause a scaly skin rash called dermopathy. This is reversible when Kava use stops. And finally, Kava should not be mixed with prescription drugs. Don't use Kava if you're pregnant or breastfeeding. Kava use may make you unable to drive, similar to alcohol. Don't use Kava if you have liver problems, and avoid combining Kava with Valium, Xanax, clonazepam, or other prescription medication. Kava is especially helpful for people suffering from anxiety and stress. Studies show it helps to stop and reverse the devastating effects of anxiety and stress in your brain and your body. Kava also has a reputation for lifting mood, and it doesn't have the same side effects as prescription antidepressants. And unlike pharmaceuticals like benzodiazepines, Kava boosts cognition and short-term memory. The usual serving of prepared Kava in the South Pacific is 2 to 4 fluid ounces, depending on how much is prepared. A bilo, or a coconut half shell, can contain anywhere from 150 to 500 milligrams of Kava lactones, and native islanders often consume several of these in a drinking session. Although the local Kava committee has issued an advisory upper limit of 300 milligrams of Kava lactones per day, many Pacific Islanders consume far more without any ill effects. For more information about herbs, supplements, and natural treatment plans, check out my website.